It's Wednesday, February the 28th. I guess the big news for this week is the lake level. We've got about 8 feet more water in the lake than we had at this time last week. We had, I don't know, about 7 inches of rain or so. But the lake came up just about the normal power pool, which is 916 and, 0.4 is where we're at. And it's finally crested. The last 2 days it hadn't changed very much, maybe an inch or two. But they're dumping a bunch of water, about 12,000 cubic feet a second. So they're staying up pretty good with everything that's coming in. Now what that's done, it's muddied up a lot of the creeks, a lot of the rivers. But the good thing is with the amount of water that they're pulling, it's kind of pulling it on down lake, and the rivers are starting to clean up, and the creeks are cleaning up as well. We were out yesterday up in the Baxter area, and in the backs of some of the Indians out there, there's still a lot of logs and a lot of debris floating, so you got to be careful when you're running. Now, as that stuff gets out to the main lake, it's some of it's getting stuck on the bank when the wind blows. But when there's no wind, a lot of that stuff's going to linger around out into the middle of the lake. So even though the water's clear out there, just kind of keep an eye out for debris floating around. Now, the water, we found it to be 45 degrees or so on the main lake. But back in the creeks, we found some 47, 48 degree water. But in some areas, there was so much debris, we were having trouble, trying to throw a crankbait and a spinnerbait because there's so many leaves and just debris floating around about every cast. You was getting something watered up on your bait. But I really look for some of those areas, especially when the sun gets out in the afternoons, the fish get a little bit more active back there. We didn't do much back there. And, what we had to do was come out to the main lake where the water was a little cleaner and more stable. And we did catch some fish, vertical fishing. And I think there's going to be quite a few deep fish out there for another, probably throughout March, but another 2-3 weeks yet. There'll be some drop shot fish, grub fish to be caught out on these main lake points. But we seem to find them a little bit better off of the deep channel swings and the bluff ends. And, this past weekend there was an Anglers in Action. I think it had about 80 boats, and I believe there was a 20-pound stringer and probably 17. But then it dropped pretty quick after that. I think about half the guys didn't even weigh a fish. So the fishing's still pretty tough, but there is some good ones showing up. There was some of the guys, really got on to some good ones, but they also had a fog delay, so I think they only got to fish about 6 hours too. So that was pretty impressive weights for the conditions, and the water was on the rise big time this past weekend when they were fishing. But now that the water's kind of stabilizing out, we've got quite a bit of current. We're probably going to have for several more days. The bite should start to get a little bit more consistent. And we also found out there on them bluff ends, we did find a couple stretches that we caught several on a jerkbait. And we were kind of mixing it up, throwing a mixed stick, a mega bass, and even a Lucky Craft pointer. And it seemed like table rock shad was working good. A lot of it, the color of the jerkbait is going to depend on the color of the water that you're fishing. I know that day before yesterday, the James River was pretty muddy up to about Ants Creek. So I'm sure, every day that's moving down towards the dam, and as it moves down, it's going to get a little cleaner. But if I'm fishing in that off-colored water, I'm probably more apt to throw something like I would throw up at Lake of the Ozarks. Either a mega bass or spro, but something with a little white and chartreuse, even some orange in it. That'd be a good color in the stained waters, something like what we'd throw up at Lake of the Ozarks. In the clearer water, I'd use, like a translucent bait of sun shining, probably something with some black and chrome in it. And also on the wiggle wart. Fire Tiger will work good in that off-colored water. Red is kind of one of my favorites, like I think we talked about last week in the springtime. And another thing with this water and stuff coming up, spinnerbait's going to be a big player. And I was talking with the guys at Sportsman Factory Outlet, and they just got a big shipment of Hildebrandt blades. And this is a good time of year. I mean, a lot of us, we don't throw a lot of Indiana and big Colorado blades, but with the stain that we got in the water, the good thing about Colorado or Indiana blade is you can fish the bait a lot slower, because unlike a willow, where willow blades will fall fast in the water column, a big Colorado or Indiana will not drop as fast, and you can slow roll it, in like 3 to 5 feet without moving the bait too fast. The fish can hear and see a big thumper blade like that. So if you've got, instead of going out and buying new spinnerbaits, just go check out their blade selection. A lot of times, if you've got a Colorado willow leaf blade set up, all you got to do is pull the back blade off and put a big old thumper Colorado blade. And a lot of times, I like to use like a little kicker blade. I like to use chartreuse on it, or even red, and then probably a gold on the big thumper blade, or even a white. This time of year when the water's off colored like this, we'll throw a lot of painted blades, and also never rule out the coleslaw skirt, which is white and chartreuse and a little bit of orange. I know down at the dam, like I was down in Kimbling City area this weekend, and a lot of the creeks there, like Schooner Creek, had a lot of mud color running out of them. But like I say, once it hits the main lake, and as hard as they're pulling the lake, what it's going to do, it's going to pull a lot of that stain out of the creek. So if you go further back in the creeks, the water's actually going to be cleaner, and it's apt to be a little bit warmer. So don't be afraid to go, way back into creeks. On the last little channel swings back in there. And if you can't get a crankbait or spinnerbait to work, I'd try like a 3/8 ounce jig, a little finesse jig, like a Bobby Albert jig, green pumpkin, or something with a little orange. Even take dip and dive, put a little chartreuse on the craws of your twin tail trailer, like you want to use a Strike King Baby Rage craw. But really look for the fishing to start picking up. The weather looks, fairly good. Not a whole lot more rain coming in for the next week or so. And we don't know with spring coming how much rain we're going to get. But, right now, the lake's up at a good level. It's got a lot of good stain in it. So whenever that sun gets out and stays out, that water's going to warm up fast. It's going to warm up a lot faster wherever you got stained water, which will be in the river arms. And you don't even necessarily have to go to the river. You could go to any part of the main lake, like the Cow Creeks, White's Branch, Schooner Creek, Indian Creek down by the dam, and you will find stain in the backs of those creeks as well. The main lake might be clear. And another way we caught a few fish yesterday was on a little underspin with either a 4-inch grub or a 2.8 Kitech as a trailer. Seems like a lot more of them fish are starting to suspend, not very deep. We found them at 10 to 15 foot out off of them bluff ends and main lake channel swings. And the Alabama rig, probably without a doubt, is the most dominant bait right now for big fish. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.